Where does it end with Kurt Busch? The legend of the sport isn't fully recovered from the injury he sustained back in Pocono on July 23rd. And while many thought that he would be back and stronger than ever, we've just received some disappointing news regarding his future. Kurt lost his place in 23XI racing, and on top of that, he isn't certain for the 2023 season. While we hoped that we'd see him sharing his knowledge through the broadcasting services, we've been hit with a harsh reality that only a few of us were prepared for. Kurt Busch's career ended disappointingly, mostly because the crash he suffered in Pocono caused injuries to his body that weren't easily repairable. Now that Kurt Busch has been sidelined for the remainder of the 2022 season and is listed as a part-time driver in 2023, his name is yet to be announced along with Jimmie Johnson. What is very bad for Kurt is the fact that he wanted to focus on his broadcasting career, and that is something that is likely going to be taken away from him by Fox Sports. Busch does possess immense knowledge and talent for the sport, which is why he is perceived as a very likable and respectable individual in NASCAR. Therefore, the fan base would want to see more of Busch in NASCAR. And if we've been stripped away from a couple of more seasons of quality racing from Busch, it doesn't necessarily mean that we deserve to be stripped away from Busch's presence in NASCAR in general. But it seems like this is going to be the future for all NASCAR fans and all Busch fans as well. A recent comment by longtime NASCAR reporter Lee Spencer of RacingBoys.com confirmed that we may see more of Kurt Busch than previously expected. But this hope has been shut down by Fox Sports' recent actions. When the broadcasting service saw that Jeff Gordon would be leaving them after the 2021 season to focus on his duties at Hendrick Motorsports, they didn't hire a full-time replacement for him. Instead, the network itself is very dependent on a rotating cast that includes guys and gals like Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt, and Danica Patrick. Of course, all of these are former NASCAR drivers that provide massive knowledge whenever they sit in a broadcasting service, which is why many thought that this would be the perfect job for Busch as well. However, Fox has made a sudden change of direction regarding their usual way of working, and now it has been rumored that Fox Sports is waiting for the retirement of Kevin Harvick, which is likely to come sooner rather than later, in order to hire him as a full-time commentator in their service. Harvick is widely expected to retire after the 2023 season, meaning that he would be available before beginning full-time employment. While many assumed that Fox Sports would continue to rotate crews, it appears that they want to take a more standard and traditional approach by hiring Harvick. But where is the bad news for Busch? Well, it seems like he isn't on the short list for full-time help at Fox, which is why they didn't give Kurt Busch the answer that he was looking for. This was discussed at a recent Pit Reporters podcast, and Lee Spencer confirmed what we've been fearing most: Busch's departure from the sport. It appears that way because I talked to Kurt, and he said, "Hey, I'd love to do the first 7 races." He wasn't greeted with the same kind of energy that he was looking for, so he'll be doing quite a bit with Fox, but probably not as much as he'd like to. It's strange how one accident that didn't seem to be as harsh as what Busch has suffered from could have impacted a driver's life in such a massive way. After Pocono, many of us thought that Busch would be back in the upcoming races, but as time progressed, it has become evident that the injuries he sustained aren't ones to mess with, which is why he was forced to think of retirement much sooner than everybody would have originally anticipated. So what does the future hold now for Busch? Obviously, if he leaves the booth after the first 7 races, he would have the opportunity to drive at Richmond Raceway, Bristol Motor Speedway, and Martinsville Speedway, where he has won 10 of his 34 starts. While the approach that Fox took with Busch is a bit of bad news, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to wave bye-bye to one of the drivers that we've been so pleased to watch in NASCAR. Kurt is going to be around the sport, and his appearance in the Cup Series is likely going to happen earlier than everybody thinks. At Las Vegas Motor Speedway, many are expecting to see Kurt in action again, and it would be the best place to make a comeback, given the fact that it's his home track. The concussion that Busch has suffered at Pocono Raceway has turned out to be a fatal one for his career. And while Busch made it out alive, he didn't hope for an outcome like this. Now, he is happy that he could even participate in a race weekend in 2023, something that he is cheering up for. And although he missed the second half of the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series, he has recovered well and will be a part-time driver at 2311 Racing. This was the team that he suffered the concussion on, and this is the team that publicly said that he could come home whenever he felt like it. And they feel very sorry that he had to be replaced by Tyler Reddick this way. Still, life goes on. And when talking about this matter, Hamlin added that Busch could have whatever role he wanted with the team, whether that was driving, working in the front office, or even both of them. But Hamlin himself needs to decide what his plans are for the future, because as of now, it doesn't look bright for him at Joe Gibbs Racing. The team is likely to strive away from his primary sponsor, FedEx, which eventually means that he will be forced to go into the managing role, as he is the co-owner of 2311 Racing. Everyone was left in shock when Busch wasn't able to continue racing in 2022, and from what has been prepared for the 2004 Cup Series champion in 2023. Quite honestly, it's the right decision to step away from the sport if you don't feel like you're 100% motivated to drive. This is something that Busch spoke about when he announced his retirement from the sport, and when talking about it, Busch added, "I know I'm not 100% confident in my ability to go out and race at the top level in the NASCAR Cup Series. These are the best of the best drivers, and lately, I haven't felt my best. And if I'm cleared, maybe you'll see me at a few select races." Reddick was already signed by 2311 Racing to replace Busch from 2024 onward. However, nobody could have anticipated that Busch's injury would leave him sidelined for the rest of the 2022 season and the entirety of the 2023 season as well. While we're still happy to see Busch in NASCAR, mostly in broadcasting and as a part-time driver in the 2023 season, it's not something we cheered for prior to the Pocono Raceway. What is more certain is that fans are going to be more than happy to see Busch take on a commanding role in a team, which could be his next step in 2311 Racing. After all, he has a close relationship with Hamlin, who co-owns the team and is looking to retire from full-time racing after the 2023 season, due to the events in JGR. If this turns out to be the future and the fate for Busch, then rest assured that he does possess the qualities to lead the team to a World Series championship. Mostly because he has the ability to find talents out there that are ready to be molded into championship material. Still, NASCAR is a very competitive sport, and winning championships is much easier said than done. But after what he's been through in his career, there is no doubt that Kurt Busch would be more than motivated to lead a driver and a team in this direction. Now the ball is in the hands of Hamlin and 2311 Racing, as well as Fox Sports, because these are the places where Busch can find a new home, and where we would be more than happy to see Busch continue his devotion to NASCAR. Of course, seeing him race again would be a pleasant sight for every NASCAR fan, but we are only hoping to see this happen. What do you think about Busch's future in NASCAR? Let us know in the comments below.